Hey, folks.
Nervous. I'm nervous. Why are you making me nervous?
Well, so for those that are tuning in, Mark has no idea what I'm about to show, and it will make sense in a minute because I'm going to show you a 3-minute and 24-second video, and this video will explain why my camera is off at the moment. And I've been so excited last night and today because something arrived, and I don't think I've been this excited about a delivery since I was like 10 years old at Christmas. So let's watch this video. Hey folks, I'm here. So something just amazing happened. So 2 years ago, I got into Bit Tensor and went all in, etc. And I haven't really shut up about Bit Tensor since. And I've got a small community, and one of the people that's been in there for a while, obviously, is now Tau-pilled. And another thing I'm always talking about is wealth generation and how everyone needs their own business and yada, yada, yada. And this guy, who will remain anonymous, he wishes to remain anonymous, and I will respect that. He's been looking to try and set up a business for a long time. No joy over the last couple of years. Anyway, he's fully on board with the Bit Tensor boat. And a few months ago, I'm in this new office, obviously, and I had this big empty wall, and I put out a tweet saying, does anyone know of any good crypto art? Any Bitcoin pieces or anything? Because I've never bought any art. It's not really my thing. I don't really understand art. And what he sort of just ran with that. And so every day he's got home from work and then worked on a piece of Bit Tensor art. And then literally like the other day showed me a picture and I was like, what? And it arrived. It literally arrived about an hour ago. And so what I've done is I've taken off all the stuff on my shelves and I've just put it on the wall. Check this out. That is just insane. I've literally just stood there for the last like 15 minutes, just standing there staring at this thing. It is mesmerizing. It is just the detail is just insane. Obviously, it starts off with this sort of this event horizon, and all of these, I guess, are subnets that will sprout out from it, and every layer is like something from the white paper. It's all the maths and the tokenomics, even like the first transfer and the wallet address to what is this? More of the tokenomics, all these block sizes and stuff. So. And then the subnet, there's like a wheel that goes all the way around and it's just all the different subnets. And so obviously this must have been, obviously, it's like a snapshot in time because I think some of these unknown ones, are new subnets now. And then there's like explanations of what each layer is. It is nuts. So what I've done is, this is the first piece of art I've ever bought, and I think it's only fitting that the founder of Bit Tensor gets this. So I've bought this for Const. So I'm going to be shipping this off to Const very soon, and then I'm going to buy another piece for me. So yeah, I'm going to be issue number 2, and yeah, it's pretty expensive, but I think it's worth it. This is, I love it. I absolutely love it. Guess what he's called? Michealeagtao.
There it is. How cool is that? That's pretty cool.
I literally sit here staring at it. Like, I was just like,
So productivity is going to be way down.
way down. Or I can learn some maths.
That's never going to happen.
Never. But hence I couldn't share the video because you'd be like, what's that behind you? And
Yeah. That's really cool.
Really cool. Yeah. And yeah. I told my wife how much she was like, you spent what? And I was yeah. But anyway, I've never bought art, so I'm just catching up the lost time. So
Well, it's a winner. That is a winner. Good. Well done. It's a good start, that. I was nervous.
You were.
I was very nervous there. Yeah, more relaxed now. Right. So what we we got no one in the digital green room. It's just me and you. We are you went out and asked some questions. We pulled a load of questions in. We got some stuff. We pulled that together in a little a Google Doc. We're going to work our way through it, and see where we go. You got the Google Doc there?
I do. Yeah. And we're not going to be able to go through all of these questions. There's so many.
Well, let's see how we get on. I hear you before every episode of Revenue Search giving the following advice to subnet owners: keep your answers short. It makes for a much more interesting episode.
Good luck with that.
Come on then. Well, should we kick off with number one?
Seems logical.
Seems logical. So, where do you think we are in the overall market cycle? This is a question from Nikkei Flow. And how will that impact how over the next 2 to 6 months? Quite a specific time frame.
Yeah, what do you think, Mark?
I don't know what the rules are here. The rules are I ask the question and then I have to answer the question. That's the.
I don't know. Okay, I'll hit this one. Overall market cycle. So I think things have been pushed back, I think maybe a quarter. So I was adamant that the US would cut rates in summer, and they didn't because Jerome Powell was playing the political hoo-ha against Trump. But then they did it in September. So I think everything has been pushed back a quarter. So for the last 2 years, I've said Q4 2025. It's in my book. I put 2025 Q4. So I wouldn't be surprised if we'll start seeing rallying during Q4 2025, and then maybe a high in Q1, Q2. That's my thoughts. Quick answer. There you go.
Huh?
That was a quick answer.
Was a quick answer. That was a quick answer. There's a much longer answer, isn't there, around market cycle? But mate, let's get through some questions, shall we? Otherwise, I think they will run the very real risk of just spending a whole hour answering a single question. So, baby Ronnie here. What happens to subnet teams if Tau drops hard? Could lower prices force miners or teams to shut down?
Yes.
That was a really short answer.
Yeah. So there really is a problem. Like no one knows what that price is, but if Tau gets to, let's say, below $200 and stays there, it's like a systematic shutting down of organs in Bit Tensor. Sounds a bit dramatic, but really, I think sub $150 Tau and let's say it stays sub 150, you'll see a mass exodus of a talent from Bit Tensor because the miners just won't be able to do the thing. Especially the compute subnets. Like how is Targon or Shoots or Liam supposed to run their inference and compute if the miners just bugger off, and those miners will just redirect their compute to like Vast AI or another or CoreWeave or something like that. So yeah, you lose talent in miners. Subnet owners again will have even more problems with cash flow and all sorts. So yeah, it's not good. But that's like a downwards and negative loop spiral. The opposite is also true. So the higher the Tau goes, the better miners, the better paid. Just the quality of Bit Tensor just starts to really thrive. And I think the sweet spot I've always looked at this is really that $2,000 Tau is where I think all the cylinders start firing in Bit Tensor, and we start absolutely nailing shit.
Start nailing shit. I mean, that's not really a saying, but yeah, let's run with it. Joe Sean, are subnet builders still getting funded easily, or is capital tightening up around proven teams only?
Oh, that's getting funded easily. I don't think they've ever very few subnets have been funded easily in the past. Like I don't know of many subnet teams that have entered Bit Tensor already funded with a Series A or whatnot. But maybe the funding means emissions. I mean, the emissions are there. Like you can see what the subnet owners are effectively earning per day. obviously all subnet owners earn the same amount of alpha per day, 1,296 alpha a day. And the tau value you see in the subnet owner per day thing on tau stats is just the alpha times the price of their subnet. So, but yeah, it's hard. I mean, there's very few. I mean, Targon did a Series A, 10.5 million, led by JJ. We know that Sunday Bar is very well financed with Jonathan Bixby. It's worth looking into Jonathan Bixby, folks. He is a big dog. And there's a few other subnets, and we now know Shak. He just did that big move, and he freed up $1.4 million worth of alpha to reinvest into the business to grow faster, which is great.
Yeah, on the subnet builders piece here, what people that are looking to deploy capital are looking for is a return on capital. Losing that capital is not an option. Getting a return on that capital is exactly what they're looking for, and indeed what we're looking for. There is a situation at the moment, and it relates to the answer that Siam gave in question 2, which was around the margins of those compute teams. And there is a compute subnet, Polaris, and Polaris are at risk of dereg at the minute. I was on a call this afternoon with Fred. We did a revenue search with Fred. He was one of our earliest, like our first 10, I think, revenue search episodes. So we know a little bit about what those guys are doing, but they're at risk of being deregistered, which seems unfair because they are active. They're actively building on Bit Tensor, and there are other subnets where there's nothing being built and nothing really happening. But those guys aren't at risk of dereg. And the conversation that I had with Fred was, very, very honest conversation around there needs to be a really good plan here to turn this around. You've got something. They made some revenue last month. You need to get more revenue coming in. It needs to be profitable. You need to be able to demonstrate how you're going to support that alpha token. And if you can pull that good plan together, capital will be attracted. It always is.
Yeah.
And a return on investment. There's no capital in this space or any other that's just floating around trying to find a home. Capital is put to work by people that are investing it. Our job at DSV is to invest capital on behalf of our LPs, of our investors. They're looking for a return. So when it's not a charity and there aren't subnets looking for donations, there are subnets that have got plans that are looking for it. And I think really that's the piece here. Capital's not tightening up around proven teams. I don't think that's true. I think in the same way that where we see retail investors rotating their capital around subnets, what they're looking for is a return. Everyone's time frame is different, and I think retail investors operate on a much shorter time frame. They are looking to turn 10 tau into 15 tau by tomorrow, and that's where you see, okay, there's a bit of a green candle there. I'm going to jump on it. Whereas people who are deploying much bigger chunks like DSV, we've got a longer time frame. We're not looking to see a 50% return by tomorrow. We are looking at how is this going to perform over the next 12 months, 2 years, 3 years. The lockup period in DSV is 24 months for a reason, because that is the epoch on which we want to judge our investments over. So yeah, long answer to the question, but there is no easy funding. It's all about having a good plan.
Yeah.
And for the big money, that plan is over a longer time period.
Yeah, and it will be revenue focused. Like what we are, like every month we get new funds in as DSV, and then we have to allocate it. We've got Stillcore, Mark Jeffries' fund that's going to be launching soon. So he'll be looking for a home for all of that capital. So yeah, you just at the end of the day, is the business good?
That's what we're looking for.
What question?
Howard Wing.
Howard?
How do you think the halving will affect Tau's price and subnet activity? Oh, and we got some. There's more questions. I'm going to go through all of the questions. We've grouped them on the halving. Tauman's son, when Tau halves, will subnet owners also halve their alpha issuance? Is staying fully exposed to alpha short-term bearish? Will miners and subnet owners start selling more because their income is halved? What do you think about syncing tau and alpha halvings? Would that help or hurt the system? So a whole bunch there, really, Siam, on the halving. Do you want to tell us about the halving, when that's going to happen, what's going to happen, what that means, what your view is?
Yeah, I think we need a doodle.
Oh, of course we do.
Of course we do. I can't do this without doodling. Share screen. Here we go. Entire screen. And there we have that. Right, I can't see your lovely face now, so I'm gonna have to move you to the other screen. There we go. So let's just get a new doodle. So I guess the easy way, without going too much into the weeds, let's look at it in 3 different phases. So we have pre-halving. Whoa. We actually have pre-tau halving, post-tau halving, and then post-alpha halving. Just double checking, Mark. Can you see what I'm doodling?
Certainly can.
Good. Right. So you have 2 parts of the emission. So on the left-hand side, the way I always imagine a liquidity pool is that it's a glass of water. And again, roughly speaking, and I could counter argue myself as I explain this, but pre-tau halving is where we are now, and roughly we've got 1 tau per block going in and 1 alpha. But so this is known as tau in, and this is known as alpha in, because it's being injected. And then you have also alpha out. Now, alpha out goes to participants. Participants. And so we have 41, 41, 18. So we have 41% going to miners. You then have 41% going to valleys. What the hell just happened there? Valleys. And then you have 18% going to subnet owners. And so what happens here, alpha out is 1. You got 1 alpha that's being spread amongst. So this is what some people are calling an overhang. So at the moment we have a 1 alpha overhang, which is this, every block. And then we have the halving. And so post tau halving, what happens is that we now have half a tau flowing in terms of tau in, and the liquidity pools are always balanced so that they're price neutral. So you then also have half an alpha going in. But, and the big but here, is that in terms of the overhang, it's still 1 alpha as an overhang. So what a lot of people are worried about is that the liquidity pools are filling up at half the speed. So this is going to be extra hard for brand new subnets that already have a teeny weeny pond or cup, because it's filling up at half the speed, but there's still 1 alpha overhang. So that's where a lot of people are worrying that, some of the thinner subnets could have a lot more volatility, and this 1 alpha overhang will be a bigger impact in price because of the rate the liquidity pool's filling up. And then we have the post alpha halving. So in about 18 months time, the first 64 subnets are going to have their halving, because we launched detail with 64 subnets. And so then guess what happens to the pool? Absolutely nothing. Nothing happens to the pool, but what happens over here is that we now then have half an alpha in overhang. Does that make sense, Mark, so far?
Yeah.
So the key thing, as we spoke about revenue search with Victor today, is that post-tau halving, is just the liquidity pool is just filling up a lot slower. So on the chart, if you were to have look at a brand new chart, it's just, you're going to see much more volatility. And that I guess is the crux of this whole shindig. And I mean, it's not good. It's not bad. It's like money. Money is an innate object, an inanimate object, and it's how people react around it that gives it meaning. So personally, I don't really care about the halving. It doesn't affect us. Like as investors, you must always be willing to adapt, and never, don't shout at the playing field or the game. You just got to pivot with it.
Okay. So, but everyone is going to adapt around it. So, do you think people are going to be flying to safety or doubling down before the halving? You think that
Ooh, yeah.
there's going to be a psychological aspect to this?
Maybe. Like, so when you look at Bitcoin, because that's really all we have to go with. Got to share my screen again.
It's nice to see you briefly.
Right, let's get Tau stats. I mean, trading view up. And if we just scroll to my old Bitcoin fractal cycles over here, go to the log chart, go to the weekly chart, and zoom out. So I've had these fractals for ages, and then we can see very clearly what happens to Bitcoin in the run up to a halving. So the big blue vertical line is the halving. We always run up in price to the halving. And then sometimes, not all the time, there's a bit of sell-off or a stagnation. So here we had the halving, and then it sort of went sideways for the best part of 2 or 3 months, well, 2 months, let's say, and then it went batshit crazy for a year, and then the normal phases. But then running up to the halving, price runs up. Here we had a big sell-off, and that was a big sell-off, going from sort of $756 per Bitcoin down to $468. And that was several months. That was 3 to 4 months. And then batshit crazy for a year. The next halving, we then rallied into the halving pretty hard. But look, we had a bit of a, 2 months of just sideways, nothing burger. And then batshit crazy for a year. Again, Bitcoin, the last halving, it rallied hard into it. And then we had a multi-month sell-off. Halving was April time. Then it didn't really recover until September 2024. And so halvings are nearly always a nothing burger. Nearly always. Because people, halving, and then it happens and it's like, hey, what now? And then people get, and then they sell or nothing much happens. But the real forcing function of the halving is the accumulated effect over time. So yeah, halving of the issuance every block, and the demand remains the same, price goes up. But what you and I know, because we, unfortunately for some, but fortunately for us, I guess, you and I are privy to certain conversations which are not publicly known. We know of big entities doing massive fundraisers. We can see on our relatively near time horizon big capital inflows coming into Bit Tensor. Not through DSV, but just to Bit Tensor as a whole. So we know the demand is not going to drop. The demand is just it's still coming, but then the issuance is halving. So supply demand, price has to go up. I've never been more certain about anything in my life. I'm more certain that Bit Tensor is going to go up than my wife loves me. No, that's a joke. But
yeah, listen, I share your conviction. So yeah, I'm on board with that. Yeah, the halving, no, like, it's just not gonna be a thing, is it?
I don't believe so.
Is it? There are some people saying that we need to sync the tau and the alpha halvings. Do you think there's any?
Oh, that's a big. That is a topic not for today. I had an hour and 15-minute chat 1-to-1 with Michealeagtao a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and we spent just talking about this very issue. And technically, there sort of is potentially an issue if we do nothing, where what happens is, in a nutshell, future new subnets are going to be massively disadvantaged compared to older subnets. Now, is that a problem? Or maybe not. Or maybe it's just a case of, like, if you're too late to the game, you can't really play. And so it may be the case of, the first 300 subnets are actually, they're all right. But subnets 400, 301 onwards, you get worse tokenomics because of the way that, the general market is. So it just means there's more of a premium for the first 300. So it's just the market at the end of the day. You just go, okay, I'm going to pay premium for, if I'm going to launch a subnet, I want a pre-300 one or pre-128 subnet. Now, there is a relatively logical solution of synchronizing the halvings, so synchronizing alpha and tau halvings. But what Michealeagtao explained is that if you were to do that, due to the maths, you'd actually have to increase the max alpha supply from 21 million to 25 million. Big no-no. And so this is sort of a mooted point because it is, let's just go as far as saying the max alpha supply is what I'm like 99% positive it will stay at 21 million. And I don't think Jacob would want it going from 21 million to 25 million because of the maths and the aligning. So, but yeah, it just means future subnets are at a disadvantage.
There we go. It's a muted point. Whatever one of those is.
Did I say that?
Muted point.
Yeah, moot.
Moot point. Yeah, you said muted point.
Yes, the past tense of moot.
Is it? Oh, I love listening to you talk. It's wonderful. It's so close to English, but it's a rough approximation. Okay. Subnet builders and team health. We've got a few questions here, all related to one another. Are the subnet teams approaching DSV? Okay.
Who's DCV?
This is good. This is spending too much time with you. My English is on the blink now. Are the subnet teams approaching DSV truly ready to build and operate, or are they still assembling the basics? Are new subnet teams securing 12 to 18 months of runway, or are most running close to empty? Are you confident upcoming subnets are real product builders, or are they still relying too much on emissions and sentiment? Do we have new people entering the ecosystem, or is it mostly the same builders rotating across subnets?
Lots of good questions. I think you should answer these.
Okay, so I mean, the truth is that we don't have lots of new subnet teams approaching us.
Small handful.
Yeah, there's not lots of them coming in, and I think that those that are, I mean, so LeadPoet is a good example. They had got a plan, but they both have jobs. You know, they weren't kind of ready to go, but they were prepared to go when the time came. The challenge with the subnet system as it is you can't just go, oh, we're going to launch on the 1st of December, and we're just going to secure our subnet slot then. It's a bit hit and miss, isn't it, at the minute? Are we going to get that slot? We're not going to get that slot. There's a bit of an auction. They were going to sell it. They're not going to sell it. The prices has changed. So it's not always guaranteed that you're going to get the slot when you want the slot, which I think really answers the question, which is that they're not truly ready to build, because you're not going to get everything ready and then hope that you get a subnet slot, because life goes on. You might not get that subnet slot for 3 weeks or 2 months. So you're prepared to be ready, but yeah, you know, you're still broadly assembling the team and the idea. You're not shelling out. You haven't secured your ML. You haven't got a team ready to go, because you don't want the OpEx of a subnet that is not a subnet until you've got that slot. That's fair, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I love LeadPoet, and you know they were building a good 3 months before live, and there's only so much you can do without being live. There's stuff that you have to go live, and then you can keep on building. And so, but yeah, it's a constant iteration, because sometimes you'll come up with your incentive mechanism and your validation mechanism, and you think, right, this is good to go. You go live, and then some clever bugger, some miner somewhere goes, ha, idiots, there's a little exploit there, and then they just exploit you, and then you're like, oh god damn it, 3 months worth of like planning, and some clever savant over there is just absolutely exploiting me. So you then have to like pause, go back to the drawing boards, and every subnet is doing this. They're like, oh, shit, another miner's found this hole. And so it's constantly like sellotaping your valley mechanism or your incentive mechanism, or just tweaking it. So, but yeah, like what LeadPoet has done, they've done a lot of the work behind the scenes. They've gone live when they're ready to go live, and so they should be hitting real world revenue a lot faster, probably the fastest that any subnet has hit. I wouldn't be surprised if they, or in fact, no, we're going to say any leading figures there, but
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you're very, very quiet on this matter, Simon. Um, so, new subnet teams, are they securing 12 to 18 months of runway, or are they running close to empty? I mean, 18 months of runway is a long time. I think that there are subnets that have got that length of runway, but most of those have done equity deals. They've done seed rounds. They've got millions of dollars in the bank. They're not securing 18 months of runway on the back of an OTC deal or OTC deals. That's not happening. So if you see it in the news that there's been a round and there's been $3 million raised, yeah, they've got 18 months of runway.
I've heard 3 months of runway.
Yeah. For most people, it's a bit tighter than that, which isn't necessarily that's not a worrying thing. I'm not saying that they're close to empty there, but 12 to 18 months is a long time. Are we confident that upcoming subnets are real product builders, or are they relying too much on emissions and sentiment? I think that a decreasing proportion of subnets are relying on emissions and sentiment. I think it was possible a while ago to do that and to get yourself up the leaderboard. But now I think that the market is a bit wiser, and I think there are probably subnets that are enjoying emissions now that they would not be enjoying if they weren't already locked in, like in that place in the leaderboard, because they are still way off revenue. And I think that the market is a bit savvier now, and it's seen subnets bring revenue online, and they are not necessarily rewarded for that revenue, because there are teams that haven't got revenue and have got no prospect of revenue in the near term. They are taking the emissions, but I think that new subnet teams coming in know that they must get to revenue. That's what's important.
Yep, agree.
And then, do we have new people entering the ecosystem, or is it most of the same builders rotating across subnets? Good question. That I'm not sure I know the answer. Like builders, as in, I mean, I know that good devs pass around and work on multiple projects. They've worked on this one. Now I'm going to go and work on this one.
I'd say there are more newer people joining. Sunday Bar, brand new team, not even Bit Tensor like native, but they're like proper business type people trying to make it work. Yeah, there's lots of newer people.
Yeah, I got in general new. Like I occasionally get somebody in my inbox like, "Hey, I would love to get involved in Bit Tensor. Where can I fit in? This is my history. Here's my CV, or here's my resume. Who do I talk to? Where do I go?" Yeah, so there's people being attracted to this space. They're seeing what's happening and they're being attracted. Alpha and network value. We've got Toping You, Rich. So which alphanomic models look strongest right now, and which ones probably won't last?
I still think Hippius is like the new gold standard for alphanomics. And then very close to Hippius are obviously video. I keep calling it video, but Molk says it's video. So yeah, I mean, that's very similar. Obviously, it doesn't have its own sort of side chain. But, there's no set answer for a subnet. It's not like, right, everyone just follow Hippius, because some you can't. For some subnets, Victor said earlier, some subnets, buy-back-and-burn or buy-back in alpha treasury is probably the best thing. And, for a long time, I've really wanted a subnet owner to really gun and try and live out this experiment that technically you could make your alpha price go up forever. Because let's say you're high up on the leaderboard, and let's say you're position 5, and you're like, right, I'm going to stay in position 5 forever. And you know that, your minor emissions are like $5 million a month. Well, if you've got a very profitable business model and you're making $10 million a month, you can just buy back and burn $5 million a month, or let's say all sell side is $6 million a month. Great. You just buy back and burn $6 million a month.
Yep.
Your alpha price can only go up. I know Liam is trying to give it a good bash at that experiment. But there's no set thing. But Hippius is really up there. Ridges is doing something pretty cool. We've seen a few great incentive mechanisms. Alpha value driving mechanisms. Sports Tensor's got a pretty good one, or a very good one. Jesus, I think they're all switching on, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. But actually, that conversation with Victor earlier flicked something in my head, which is that for a while I've seen kind of buyback and burn as the lowest alphanomic strategy, as it's the standard, but it's kind of the worst one. But it's not easy to go from that to like a Hippius style setup. It's a big jump. But actually, that conversation with Victor earlier about creating your own digital assets treasury.
That was me.
Yeah, I'm just saying it was that conversation with Victor earlier. I'm not apportioning credit here. You can have the gold star, but yeah, the idea of just putting it into a wallet and saying that you can, because you don't need to spend it, but you can borrow against it. So then, as an investor in that subnet, I'd much rather see you build up this huge bank of collateral that you can use to go and hire the best people and acquire other businesses and invest in your own roadmap with this security rather than just burning that value.
Yeah.
So it's something to leverage, which is always a huge asset in a business, and that really will grow very, very rapidly.
Here's a playbook that every subnet owner can aim for, and it will be fire. Build up revenue, so you're surpassing your monthly OPEX, your miner emissions, then all the validator emissions. So long story short, all emissions, all sell side. Okay, that's stage one. That way, your alpha is technically there's no downside. You buy back but don't burn. You buy back and you park that alpha in a treasury, and that is going to be your alpha treasury fund. The daily compounding interest of that alpha is insane. Like over a 2-year period, you're doubling your alpha at least. Over a 4-year period, you're seeing ridiculous returns. Now, what this then means, and also we have the lovely tailwind of tau going from 400 to 3,000, or let's say. What this means is that your alpha treasury fund is now absolutely vast because you've got hundreds of thousands of alpha, probably million plus alpha, times the price of tau. On your balance sheet, you are loaded. So here's what you do. You IPO your business. You literally go to the TradFi markets and you do an IPO. And with IPOs, you're at the very least listing at 17 times earnings. So then all of a sudden you'll have to create a top co, etc. But yeah, you IPO the top co. You then have to sell 25% of top co to the public, because that's a typical IPO. But what that then means is you now have a brand new, very established market where you can just tap into to raise finance, because they'll be like, oh, you've got $102 million on your balance sheet. You want to raise $5 million? Yeah, here you can borrow money at 0.1% or 0.1% above base rates. And then what are you going to do with that money? You can just you never have to sell your alpha. You just borrow at basically cheap or free rates, and then you can grow and expand as you wish. But you should be the Michael Saylor of, I will never dump this alpha treasury. Like, and then when you this is another reason why I absolutely love Sunday Bar, because we have Jonathan Bixby, who he owns 15 listed companies. He knows that game. He can, if you look at how much money he's raised for all his other businesses recently, you'll see that he's got this money glitch over here where he can just raise any money on the proper markets, the TradFi markets, but he's now got a detail type train set. So we've never seen this, where we're seeing a proper market player now having a subnet, and he can effectively raise unlimited money for one subnet. So other subnet owners, I think, should aim for this. Now, eventually, the TradFi markets will become, we have TradFi and DeFi. Eventually, it'll just be Fi. So, but you get what I say.
I do. Yeah. Okay. I think that's a decent model. That I do think that anyone that's doing buyback and burn needs to really question their strategy. I think they're probably doing it out of fear. but really it's an absence of a better idea. But I think that is a better idea. I think the digital asset treasury is a much better idea than buyback and burn, just because of the yield. Now, and that's something we haven't seen for a while. Like the Siam kid, 3-year yield on alpha.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, I do want you to try it. I haven't seen you do it for ages.
Yeah, I was thinking it for ages.
Yeah, it's
I'm like a performing monkey for you, aren't I?
yeah, and but I really like this because for we've seen the percentage of the percentage en route fall, haven't we, recently?
Oh, man, massive.
But if you had got, say, 100 tau and you're sitting en route and you're thinking, do I go into detail here? Do I invest in alpha? This is really the answer to the question, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're just waiting for Mog to put more hamsters on their wheels. Come on, Mog. Load. Okay, JJ won. Okay, yes, as you said, APY en route is 6.27%. So, and it will fall over time. Come on, Tassats. Because here we go. So for the yield, I find this is the most accurate yield one. So Mark, pick a subnet, any subnet, I don't care.
I'm gonna pick shoots.
Shoot, 64. Here we go. So where's 64? We find shoots. Then, as you can see here, ignore that one, that's spurious. But we're looking at shoots 1 month APY, 69%. It's going to drop a little bit. So let's just say, so we've got 18 months worth of this sort of rate. Let's round it down to 60%. And then after halving, let's say 30%. Happy with that?
Yeah.
Cool. So what we're going to do is do $10,000. And we're going to convert that into tau. Let's get the calculator. So $10,000 and divide that by, I don't know, $400 tau, just to keep maths easy. We've got 25 tau. And then we have to divide that by the price of shoots right now, which is, but no, off the top of my head at the moment, 0.84. So, so that divided by 0.084, it means you've got 297, sorry, 0.084, you've got 297, let's just round it down, 297 alpha. And by the way, using shoots is, you actually get a worse answer because of the compounding effect but is it really good for this?
I know, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret, and I'm going to ask you to do it again for another subnet after shoots.
Okay, yeah, I'll speed run that. So what we've said is that for the next 18 months, we're going to use a subdued version, 60%, and then for the remaining 24 months, it'll be, let's say, 30% APY. So the way you do this is that you have to, so 60% is how many, first of all, how many days in 18 months? So 365 divided by 2 plus 365, 547. Let's just use 547. So you do 0.6 divided by 365 plus 1, then to the power of, oh dear God, I need a better calculator. I normally use my one and, oh, God damn it. Okay, 0.6 divided by 365 plus 1 to the power of, where are you? 547. That gives us our multiplicative factor. I've ruined that word. So you do that times your 297 alpha. So in 18 months' time, you now have 729 alpha. But then we have to do this all over again. Because we then have 2 years worth of 30% APY. So we do 0.3 divided by 365 plus 1 to the power of, what is that, 730 days in 2 years. That, and then we times that by 729. And then we've got 1327 alpha. So in the space of 3.5 years, you go from 297 to this, which 1327 divided by 297. That's a 4.4x basically in alpha size. So you start off with 10K, right? But what is the price of Tau in 3.5 years? Let's be really anally pessimistic, and it's just $3,000 Tau. Or so you then got oh, and also, what is the price of shoots in 3.5 years' time? I mean, let's just be again. Let's say the price stays flat. I don't. I can't see it being flat. But let's just say it's the same price. So 1327 times 0.084 gives us that. So don't forget, you've gone from 25 Tau to 111 Tau, but now Tau's at 3K, 334K. So you go for 10K to this, and that is with a flat price. If the price is doubled, guess what? You're now at 668K. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. So
Every subnet needs an alpha treasury starting now.
but I mean, but then the numbers look big there because you've assumed that the value of Tau is going to go to 3K, which is academic really, because it's the number of Tau. It's the Tau multiplication that is the magic here,
and price multiple as well.
Yeah, but it is astonishing how quickly that kind of ramps up. Can we play the game again?
Yeah, I'll do it faster. What are we using this time?
Apex.
Apex. What's the yield at the moment?
You have to look at it.
No. God. Make me do everything.
What do you think it is?
What do I think? I don't know, 100%? Apex, it's always been relatively up. Fuck, jeez. Sorry. What? Okay, it's a lot higher than I thought. Okay. So let's just let's be even more pessimistic. So for the next 18 months, let's just say it's 100%. And then the next 24 months, it's 50%. Obviously, the more use, yeah, that's just ridiculous. So
crazy yield on Apex right now.
So 25 Tau divided by what's the price of Apex? Am I going to have to swap?
Yeah, you're gonna have to look it up.
Feel free to be useful, mate.
No, I'm watching. I'm enjoying this. This is my Friday afternoon of.
Come on, Apex. One. So it's 009. It's on discount. So
it's so cheap.
009. So we've got 25 Tau divided by 0.009, and we've got 2007 blah blah blah. So 2777 alpha, and then we're doing the thingamajiggy. So we're doing 1 divided by 365 plus 1 to the power of, where is it gone? 547. Jesus Christ. Times 2777. You then have 12403 alpha after 18 months. Even I'm like, this seems way too good to be true. 0.5 divided by 365 plus 1 to the power of 730 this time, and then times that by 12403, 3369. Now, obviously, I can hear people going, "Oh, yeah, but as it gets more used or a bit more popular, the yield will fall," and that is correct. But even so, you end up going from 2,777 alpha to 33,000 alpha over a 3.5 year period, which is 691 divided by 277 equals 12x. So it's irrelevant what price Tau drops by, because you're 12xing the amount of alpha. And is Apex going to remain at 009 forever? I highly doubt it.
Yeah, that's the thing here, isn't it? The number of alpha increases, the value of Tau increases, the value of Apex is likely to increase. It's a very, very low numbered subnet. It's going to be favorable in terms of the halving schedule. Like, an Apex, I think it's a good price, and it's an unbelievable APY on Apex right now. But this is, I mean, obviously that's a little bit of like personal investing there, but that is effectively the same as what you're saying that subnets should be doing with digital asset treasuries, because they would be doing exactly the same thing, accumulating their own alpha.
Yeah. And a lot of subnet owners already have hundreds of thousands of alpha. So they'll end up with millions of alpha over time, obviously.
Yeah. This is let's see who went to buy Apex.
Was it Miguel? Was it Mixe? Oh, sorry.
Oh, no one's pressing it. You've pressed it.
Well, I haven't. I've got. I'm not accessing anything.
No, yeah, we're all here. Yeah. So that's a long way of answering the alphanomic model question, but I think the short answer is, if the best bet right now is buyback and burn, try buyback and digital asset treasury, because it really works. Okay, so if a subnet like Ridges explodes in valuation, how does that affect other subnets in the wider alpha market?
Ooh, it depends if, because it's differentials, isn't it? If Ridges explodes and no one else does, guess what's going to happen? They're going to gobble up all of the emissions. Like we saw this with Shoots. Shoots hit 0.44 tau at one point and was 25% of emissions during the detail sort of bull market in April. So we've already seen a situation where one subnet hits 25% of emissions. But if a subnet gets to the point where they're making more revenue than and they buy back more than minor sell side or full sell side, then their alpha price will just keep on going up and up and up. It will adjust the EMA weighting, and therefore the emissions go up and up and up. And ultimately, and this is not a liked theory, but I think, I don't care whether it's a like theory or not. I think reality, I base my life in reality, or what I perceive as reality. And I think detail will eventually end up like the S&P 500, where 90% of the value is in the top 10% of assets. So if you look at the S&P 500, it's really the Mag 7.
Yep.
And then the S&P 493 are dog shit. So yeah, who are the Mag 7 of detail?
Yeah,
You see.
that's the game that we all need to play, isn't it? That's certainly the game that you and I are playing. Who's going to be creating the most value over the next few years? Not over the next few weeks or even over the next few months, but over the next few years. Who would be in that kind of Mag 7? And the way that we look at it is there's going to be more than 7. So we're trying to find kind of the top. Like, if we can back, and this is an interesting question of it on its own. So if you think about it from DSV's perspective, how many subnets could we back until we're like, we've backed too many subnets? It doesn't count for anything being a DSV subnet anymore, because they're just backing so many subnets. And that's an interesting question. And the answer is actually really, really simple. The answer is that our current strategy is to identify the subnets that are likely to be in the top 20, 25 subnets. We're not going to have a 100% hit rate. So, if we were going to back in the relatively short term 30 subnets in the hope that 15 or 20 of them are going to remain in the top 20 in the near term, then that's really where we can hope for. So yeah, we could back 30, 35 at the moment. We're at kind of 15, 16. So we can back many more subnets with that short-term goal. The longer-term goal, though, is simply to back subnets that are going to justify their existence and create value based on revenue coming in, not on rotation, not on like OTC deals with DSV, but on actual revenue coming in. And in that respect, it doesn't really matter. Like, if we were a fund that had backed 100 businesses that were all making good money,
And
then that's good.
yeah.
We don't see this, and I know at the moment it is, what they call a PVP market here, where if one subnet pumps, then it's at the expense of another subnet. But that doesn't work for anybody. It definitely doesn't work for DSV. But in the longer term, what's going to happen is the whole Bit Tensor space is going to grow, and every business that's doing a good job within it is going to grow. So if DSV is back to 100 winners, then we'll be in a pretty strong place. We don't see them as competing with each other. We see each one as competing with the incumbents, the competition in the vertical that it operates in. And in many cases, they're smashing the competition to pieces.
Yeah, I don't see some of the subnets staying at one forever. God no. Like, when you think about the hundreds of millions of dollars that is imminently is a bad word, will be flowing in very soon, like, it's just going to rise the tide of everything. So we will see some of the subnets at 1, 2, 3, 5, 10. Yeah. There's a very important question here by Tau Stacker that says, which one of you has the cooler ride? Which one of you has more watches? I have 0 watches. I don't wear a watch.
I have some watches, but I'm also not wearing a watch.
Nah. And the other one, which I found funny, is what skincare routine does Mark do for such facial shine? Sperm, of course.
Do I look shiny? There's a lot of light coming in here, and I have got a decent sized forehead. There's a lot going on in there. That's the thing.
You have a very high IQ. So
You need space for all of that.
your neocortex is bigger than most.
That's what's going on there.
That's what she said.
Have you got other questions there that you want to get off your chest?
They're the only 2 silly questions that made me giggle. I like a giggle.
Good. Right, come on. How long are we going to carry on here for? We have got a long list of questions. Would you?
We've got to zoom the LeadPoet now.
Oh, I know. That's okay. They will know. They will see this. Go on. Have a little scroll through it. Let's pick a few more to pull off. But then I think, like, listen, if you've submitted a question and we haven't answered it, we'll come back to it. I think we'll do another one of these at some point. I quite like it. I quite like this.
Yeah. Okay. So next category: subnet utility and demand. Stu Stoop says, do you expect more subnets to require alpha holding for access or premium features?
Yeah, because this is going back to what Victor said earlier, isn't it? Captive demand, he referred to it as, just working out where my notes were. Captive demand, yeah. And there's a real challenge for subnets is to reduce the sell pressure. And if they can do that, then alpha price has got much more chance of floating upwards. So if you can create a situation where your miners and your users are encouraged, incentivized, forced to hold your alpha token for a period of time, then you're going to reduce that. And then that's in everyone's interests. And then people will be happy to hold it because the value of that will be appreciating. So that will then be their best investment. So then they'll choose to hold it. So you create the environment that you're looking for.
Yeah, and Stu had a follow-up question, which is, why don't we see more validators building or reselling subnet services through user-friendly interfaces? They will.
Yeah, are any validators?
Not really, but I think as we progress, like what most subnets are doing at the moment, just building hardcore infra. We need infra. Everyone's building it, whether it's a compute or cloud storage or video compression, etc. They're doing that. And what we'll see, I think, are more front end facing businesses where they go, hey, we're a one-stop shop for AI, but in the back office, they'll be like, oh, we need Hippius, we need video, we need etc. And Subnet 120 I find is sort of like that. It's like I always refer it to like the quarterback of some subnets, but yeah, more will do that. Tau.com I think is launching soon, and that's like a full vertical of everything in Bit Tensor. So new users can just go to Tau.com and then just stay there. And I think a lot of other businesses like that model. So, and Tau Pingu again in the same category says, can subnets focus on core infrastructure like compute or data succeed long term, or will app-based subnets always win?
Well, they're not competing against each other. they're competing against whoever else is in that industry. So yeah, they can win. There's a lot of money spent on compute, and it costs an awful lot of money to create data centers, and it's a very, very difficult market right now. There's not very many people that have got the billions and billions of dollars required to make that work. So for lots of companies, they're just locked out. They're going to need to use services like those available on Bit Tensor to build their businesses. Those data businesses are not competing with the other businesses on Bit Tensor. They're competing with people like Google and Elon who can afford to build huge data centers.
And there's a macro answer to this as well, that the way I look at compute is a bit of a shrinking ice cube of an opportunity. And it's very similar to data back in the day. So go back to 1990s or early 2000s. Data was very expensive. I mean, go back to the 50s and the first big floppy disk, it was like the size of a room and it had like 2 megabytes of storage, or if that. And so what's happened is that data, obviously, it's got better and better. It's got denser and denser and cheaper. And so the margins of data has just shrunk. And I think compute is going to be the same thing. Yes, at the moment, we have AI just doing this vertical in any asset, any niche that you look at. And it will continue, like compute requirements will always go up. But the margins on delivering compute is so small, and they're only going to get squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. So I think when you look at, say, the tech bubble boom, and you had all of these huge infrastructure companies launching, like even today, they're still massive. AWS powers the world. You saw what happened with their glitch and half the internet shut down. But they're not public facing, like, they're not in the Mag 7, so to speak. Oh, I know Amazon is, but like you have all these big powerhouses behind the scenes, powering the world. Well, though, companies like Shoots or Targon or Liam or whatever, they will be, they're the Amazon AWS equivalents, in my opinion. They'll still be needed. Everyone needs compute. Whether, we're seeing a trend of moving away from large language models to small language models, and that's only then we get federated learning on smaller, on SLMs, and eventually you'll get inference, on mobiles and whatnot. So, efficiency is increasing, but compute is still required.
It's a true story. True story. What would happen if a tech giant like Google bought a subnet?
They have unlimited money to pump their own alpha forever.
Yeah.
They'll pump it until organic revenue means they don't need to pump.
Yeah, it's the same question as Silver Fox. Could a big company buy a subnet just to kill it and remove competition? They could, they could buy a subnet, but they're not going to kill it because it's going to be outperforming their centralized solution. And you can't kill decentralization. All you can do is embrace it. If you killed a subnet that was beating your solution through decentralization, then you'd like that, oh, that's all over, until all of the miners just reassemble under a different subnet and beat you again, knowing that they're going to get another huge payout.
Yeah. Slightly different question. One of the live questions is, Rook, are you providing any miner? If no, explain why. And if yes, please tell us what is your expectation. No, we're not we're not coders. We don't mine. The only thing I mine is a Bitcast, because all I have to do is make a video. So yeah, I mine Bitcast, but that's it. But we're not miners.
No, I mean, you can barely use a scientific calculator.
Facts.
So you'd really struggle with some of the more technical stuff that's required.
I struggle with words.
I know. Scott Rice, could any subnets realistically reach the top 50 crypto products by market cap? Which I guess is like what's this Hippius Mexi situation? So, is that going to have an impact? Are people going to be in a little round of applause? Do those two things go hand in hand? What's going to happen there?
Yeah, it's just the prerequisite for domination. Like I expect several things to happen. I don't know when, but I think at some point, most of the AI projects, like if you go to CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap and go to the AI category, at some point in the near future, every project in the top 15 will be a Bit Tensor subnet. Maybe Render will probably still be there because it's pretty big. Maybe Near will still be there, but because again, it's still pretty big. But most of the top 20 will be littered with subnets. And then eventually there will be some subnets where the market cap is just bigger than most crypto. And you'll see subnets in the top 20 of all crypto. Now, obviously, a lot of people have their hopes and dreams pinned on Ridges. I do too. Ridges is like 40% of DSV's portfolio. Like we're massively backing them. And I think Shak is such a clever guy. But like, yeah, I think he has the chops to put it off and turn Ridges into a multi-billion-dollar business. So, and if he doesn't, maybe Mog will. Like again, I'm a big fan of Mog. So
Yeah. So, well, talking about DSV's portfolio, what's your ethos for rotating in and out of subnets personally and through DSV? How do you decide whether to go deep on one subnet or spread bets across multiple? Let's handle both of those.
it's hard, really. There's no quick answer. Like I have a massive framework of what I go through when analyzing a new subnet. But obviously, some people have probably mentioned or have said and seen that we don't tend to buy expensive subnets, if that makes sense. Like I love shoots, but we don't buy shoots because at the end of the day, we're a hedge fund and I need multiple upside in price. So, for shoots to go from 0.084 to double, that's a lot of money that needs to flow into that liquidity pool to double that price. Whereas to double the price of something which is 0.005 tau is more likely.
Yeah, I mean that isn't to say that we wouldn't buy shit.
Yeah,
Your maths a moment ago suggests there's a very, very strong case there. But unless you've got unlimited funds, then you must apply your funds where they are going to see the greatest returns. And as a hedge fund, we want to make profit, and we want to make profit because nobody gets paid unless we make profit, and we can't attract more investors unless we're making profit. And we've done a pretty good job these last few months, with Tau being volatile and with kind of some of subnet dropping. We've still created a positive return for our investors. They're significantly up from somebody that came in March, April, May. They're way up based on where they would be otherwise, despite significant headwinds. The question, Dogger, of what's your ethos for rotating in and out of subnets is we don't really rotate in and out of subnets. Rotation has been a problem, I think, in Bit Tensor in recent months, and we don't do that. Anybody that can see the DSV wallet can see that we invest for the longer term in the subnets that we partner with. We're not taking positions and thinking, let's get a 2x on that and we'll come out of it next month or the month after. That's not the game here. The game here is to buy alpha that we know is going to appreciate in projects that we know are going to do well over a number of years, and stick with that. Now, I recognize that as a hedge fund that's taking bigger chunks, we operate differently to somebody that's just investing on their own. And we do a lot of OTC deals. We give a lot of non-capital support to the subnets that we partner with, i.e. advice and airtime through this, although an investment is not a prerequisite for coming on to Revenue Search, and we'll support and talk to anybody. But we treat the wallet for DSV different to how somebody would treat their own wallet, just because the opportunity is different and it's bigger to move in and out. So it's slower. It's a tanker compared to a speedboat. I think that's probably the best way of explaining it. But yeah, that's the ethos for DSV. The ethos For personal investments, depends on your timeline. Always depends on your timeline.
Yeah. And I like force multiplier businesses as well. So one of the things I do like looking at are subnets that add value not only to their bottom line, but add value to other subnets and also Bit Tensor as well. So if we take Hippius is like phenomenal cloud storage at like a 10x the lower price of incumbents. But it means that other subnets can also use Hippius, and normal businesses can use. So that has a force multiplier effect. And another one, which I'm incredibly excited about, is LeadPoet. And so if LeadPoet wins or works, not wins, if it works, I cannot stress how much upside there is for everyone, because what LeadPoet is trying to nail is getting super highly qualified leads that have intent on the for the purposes of the client, which means that if it works, and I've said this is a massive if it works, every subnet can use LeadPoet, and that means they can then generate more sales so it will help generate more sales for every other subnet. It'll bring way more money into Bit Tensor, and it will make a freaking fortune in the real world selling leads. Like, yeah. So I've gone off on this elsewhere before, but I see the upside to that being so big. And we are now 14 minutes late to our Zoom with them, Mark. We've got to round up now.
Cool. Let's well,
we should do this again. I'm in I'm away next week, but
Montenegro.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Brendy, the only other question that we missed out on here is Brendy Loop Ring. What's the minimum investment for DSV? What kind of returns can investors expect? Minimum investment is $50,000. It is sophisticated, certified investors only. We are fully regulated, and all the information is on dsvfund.com. And what's also on there is our entire back catalogue of revenue search podcasts. They're also on Spotify. They're also on Apple Podcasts and wherever you listen to your podcasts. So if this is your kind of your first touch with Bit Tensor and you're thinking, wow, what is this? How do I get in there? Then watch a few of those. We are very fortunate. We get subnet owners on talking about what they do, how they're going to make money, and how they're going to support their alpha token when they do. We ask the questions with our investor hats on. They are interesting if you are considering making an investment into any subnets. And hopefully Siam's maths earlier will have convinced you that if you are just thinking about sitting comfortably en route, actually you're missing out on a seismic opportunity. Cool. Well, we're going to rush, but we're back, are we? After next week, we'll come back. We'll come back on. We've got more revenue searches coming up in the next couple of days. Top secret. But we'll come back and we'll do another one of these. So yeah, there's stuff people want us to talk about.
Right. So hope today's helped.
Fantastic. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.